The topics and opinions expressed in the following show are solely those of the hosts and their guests, and are not those of Pesmo Radio, its employees or affiliates. We make no recommendations or endorsements of any radio show programs or products mentioned on air, on our website, social media accounts, and marketing materials. No liability, explicit or implied, shall be extended to Pesmo Radio, its employees or affiliates. Any questions or comments should be directed to those show hosts. Thank you for choosing Pesmo Radio.
Are you a songwriter? Are you looking to turn your songwriting passion into a full-time gig? Whether you are just at the start of your songwriting journey or a seasoned industry professional, this show is made for you. Welcome to the Songwriter Show, bringing together songwriting news, interviews, and community. Now, welcome your host, Sarantos.
Thank you for tuning in, and welcome back to the Songwriter Show. I'm your host, Sarantos, a solo music artist who's been writing lyrics forever. Words are so important to me, and that's why I'm thrilled to host this show for you every Tuesday night. I believe that every song is a story. The Songwriter Show is broadcast live on #1 ranked Pesmo Radio and has listeners in all 206 countries in the world and every single state in the U.S. The station is also licensed with ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, and Sound Exchange, and has partnerships throughout the music industry, including iHeartRadio and exposure to over 300 million listeners. Tonight's first and only guest is Ray Powers. Ray is a music industry veteran, having toured with a plethora of acts since the age of 15. He's a respected and sought-after vocalist, bassist, composer, and producer with Rock and Roll Hall of Fame credentials. In addition to logging tour dates and studio sessions, Ray hosts the globally syndicated radio show, The Ray Powers Hour.
And now, welcome this week's special guest.
Welcome to the show, Ray. How are you doing tonight?
Hey, Sarantos. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome, my friend. You've got a pretty cool story. What made you get into this crazy business?
Well, I guess between being a second-generation performer, Dad was a doo-wop singer in the 60s, and Mom discovered I had a perfect pitch and musical aptitude, so she was like, "You're taking piano lessons." And it was the best thing that ever happened to me.
Yeah, so you're cursed with perfect pitch, huh? You poor guy.
Tell me about it.
You know what? I got to be honest, guys like me are envious of guys like you because I've been doing this 7 years. I had no clue what I was doing, and with vocal lessons and learning about pitch and finally getting good relative pitch. But it's kind of cool to see people with perfect pitch because some of them have no clue they have it, but some of them, like you, actually use it to the best of your abilities and make a career out of it. So that's wonderful to see.
Well, it's a blessing and a curse, as you alluded. It's great that you're able to pick out notes, and if you're a producer, it's a wonderful weapon. But hearing things on the radio that are out of tune, yikes.
Yeah. So you've never had to use the tuning software like Melodyne or Auto-Tune or anything like that? Or do you use it for other people, obviously?
Well, I think in the mixing process, it's inevitable. They're going to use it regardless because that's just what the industry ear is used to, and that's what the consumer ear is used to now. So just to get it on the radio, it's got to go through all those filters, I think, anyway. I don't think anybody is that perfect. But I mean, as far as recognition goes, you know. Yeah.
What was the first tune you learned as a kid?
That would be Ode to Joy, Beethoven's da-da-da-da-da.
Yeah. Okay, I thought you were going to say Mary Had a Little Lamb or something.
That was probably second.
Yeah. What, do you play any instruments yourself?
Yeah, as far as piano, I was classically trained on piano. I took 3-4 years of that, learned music theory, then taught myself guitar later on and taught myself bass after that.
Wow, okay. What is your preferred instrument? Is it piano or is it the synth? Or?
Well, it depends. If I'm writing songs, it's piano, but my main instrument is bass. That's how I make most of my money when I'm performing live.
Okay. And when you come up with original music on your own or for somebody else, do you start the bass? Do you start with melody, lyrics, your piano? What do you start with?
That's almost always on piano, with the exception of maybe I've got a really cool guitar riff. But normally it's a melody and some kind of catch. I try to write the hook first. If the hook is in your head, the rest of it's easier.
Sure. So then on the piano, you plunk out the melody first, not the music, correct? The vocal melody?
Well, I try to do it simultaneously, but, if you have a good melody, usually I can hear, the chords under it almost automatically.
Okay. Yeah, it's fair enough. Did you have any teachers growing up?
Absolutely. I had a fantastic piano instructor. She was actually a Catholic nun. I went to 4 years of Catholic school. And before she entered the convent, she was a concert pianist. And she was the coolest little old lady. She really was.
That's very cool, man. I went to Catholic high school for 4 years, and nobody there knew music, so you're very lucky.
They could still rap you on the knuckles back then. This is the late 70s.
Yeah, I hear you. Are there any other famous musicians you've learned from?
Directly, I took a couple of music lessons, a couple of vocal lessons from Robert Mason, who was with Lynch Mob and Foreigner, and I'm not sure who he's with now, but here and there. I'm in the New York area, so, I've been lucky enough to run into some high-profile people.
Sure. Do you have any favorite musicians that you like jamming with, or?
Wow. Well, I've been blessed to have toured with a lot of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame acts. I've gotten to play with original drifters. I've gotten to play with, it's been a plethora of people. Hugh Gower of the Records is one of my best friends. Not to drop names all night, but I've been very, very lucky in that respect.
Yeah, that's very cool. How often do you try to perform in public? Normally,
if it's in this area, you don't want to burn yourself out or wear out your welcome too much. Once a month is probably a fair draw as far as getting the same people out all the time. If you're able to travel regionally within the state, within 2-3 states, every other week. I'm a dad, so I try not to be out constantly anymore.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Do you ever get nervous before a performance, or are you kind of over that?
I get the basic butterflies, and honestly, if it's a smaller crowd where I know I'm going to have 100 sets of eyes on me, it's a lot more intimidating than if I'm playing a festival. Yeah. Because you can actually see the people. You can see the whites of their eyes, so to speak, as opposed to just, a sea of people where it's like, it's kind of nondescript. It's like a horizon. Yeah, that's right. You could be out there alternating your eye contact everywhere, and it's no big deal because, right. Like you said, a sea of people is different. Yeah, a captive audience is waiting on your every syllable. Yeah. When you do your live sessions, are you doing vocals and bass? Are you doing gigs for other people, session stuff? What's most of your work doing? It's all the above. A lot of my work I'm part of a Motown touring troupe where it's a full service Motown show, and it's, theaters and bigger shows. That's a fantastic show. I get to play bass, and I get to emulate James Jamerson. So that's one of my favorite things in the world to do. Wow. If I play solo acoustic, I can do that. It really runs the gamut. If I'm out as a 3-piece doing my own thing, I play bass, and I'll get a guitarist and a drummer, whatever it takes, basically. Yeah. How often do you practice or find time to practice with your busy schedule, your family? Are we being honest here? Yeah. Yeah. Not enough. I really wish I had more time to practice. I do love to jam sometimes in the middle of the night. If I can't sleep, I might pick up the guitar or bass, but honestly, it's a lot less than I'd prefer. Yeah. I've been taking songwriting lessons for many years now, and one of the things that my instructor tells me is, you work hard on something, then you kind of master it, and then you just maintain that, but then you work on the next thing and the next thing, and I've seen in myself that after a while, things are just intuitive and common sense. I would imagine for someone like you who's been doing this consistently and professionally for so long, that maintaining is probably a lot easier. When I first started, I had to learn 98% of what was out there because I didn't really know it. So I would imagine that has something to do with it. Yeah, I think so. A lot of it is second nature. A lot of it is experience. A lot of it is, working with people who are more seasoned than you, and that pushes you to be better. So really it runs the gamut. And every day is different, as you know. So that's the coolest part, is you don't really have a carbon copy or a cookie cutter schedule. Yeah, that's true. When you look at how you break things down, do you try to do
more session work, more gigs? Do you try to write for film and TV? How do you decide where to put most of your time?
Well, I do have a long-standing gig at Mad Hands Records where I'm lead producer and I'm basically first call when it comes to session guy. And that pays a lot of the bills.
Yeah.
And consequently, it's cost me a lot of time in the studio for my own thing because, I'm signed to Mad Hands Records as well, but, here comes someone who's going to pay the rent, so obviously this comes first. And you kind of get pushed to the back burner and relegated sometimes, but, you get it done. And it's a lot of fun because, again, it's always something different coming through. So it's a challenge and it's new, and you want to be your best for these people who are paying hourly. So, it really does push you.
Yeah, no, I totally get that. Do you try to teach music or vocals or anything, or you're just too busy to do that?
I had a couple of students, both bass and guitar, beginning guitar, and I was teaching at 3 out of the 4 students I taught via Skype. One in Harrisburg, one in Houston, one in Canada, and then one would come here who was locally.
Okay, yeah. How do you balance your music career with other obligations, specifically family, kids, the other things that we all have to do?
Well, family always comes first, and it's always something, as you know. It's like you're leaving the house, and it's like, Dad, I need this, and, you just kind of learn to juggle, and you basically do everything but sleep.
Yeah, sleep is optional, right?
Exactly. It's a luxury.
What's a typical week like for you?
Oh, wow. Well, I do have my own promotional company on top of everything else. And again, it's paying the bills because I've got a daughter who's going to want to go to college in 8 years. How dare she?
Yeah, how dare she?
Yeah. So, and a lot of times it's a 9 to 5 demand on my client's part. Not all the time. Sometimes I'll, travel with them. Sometimes not. It's flexible, being that it's my business. If I have tour dates, the summer is a little bit busier. Maybe I'll be gone for 2 days at a time. Regionally, it's not too far anymore. At night, I love to cook. So if I can be home to cook, that's fantastic. And if there's any time left over after laundry and everything else, I might write a song or jam with somebody or, do something like this.
Yeah, absolutely. How about your radio show? How often is that? Is that weekly? Is that monthly? How do you work that into the schedule?
I do that once a week. I was lucky enough, blessed enough to get a very, very lucrative time slot, prime time. And after a year, I was syndicated. And now I'm on 4 or 5 different stations. So that's been a blessing.
Yeah, that's wonderful. Do you go somewhere to do it, or do you do it from your home, or is it?
No, now I can do it from home, and it's pre-recorded, so I'm able to put it in the can. And, sometimes it's 15 minutes old and sometimes it's a week old. It all depends.
Yeah, yeah. And is it AM, FM? Is it just podcast? How big is it?
Most of it is on, .coms. A lot of it is digital. There is one FM station that does stream it. And being that I've got to deal with TuneIn and a couple other companies, it does hit just about the entire free world. So it's a pretty good deal.
That's great, yeah. And maybe you're not exactly indie artist like a lot of the listeners or people that listen to this show, but as an indie artist, we're always trying to put our hands in many different cookie jars, trying to basically make a living. Is there any advice you'd give to someone just starting out? Should they focus on one versus the other, or what advice would you give them?
Well, as everybody always told me, have a plan B and make sure you keep your day job, obviously. But just hang in there. And if this is what you love, if this is your dream, never, ever, ever give up. Never let anyone dissuade you. The music industry has changed. It's not dead, but as you know, it's constantly evolving way too fast. And it's just a matter of staying the course. And if you want this, dream big, dream impossible.
Yeah, great advice. How do you, in your songwriting, how do you figure out if a song is going to make the cut? If it's something you're just dabbling with, going to put in the back burner, or if it's something that you're going to release out into the world?
Well, over the years, trial and error, and you learn from your mistakes, and you learn how not to write a song. I was lucky enough to sit in with Don Schlitz, who wrote The Gambler for Kenny Rogers, and many, many, many other songs. And he told me within 15 minutes he knew whether or not he had a keeper. And he taught me this really neat trick, which I can either divulge or not. But I think you pretty much know, like if you're on to something, you know, and you want to keep going and you want to finish a demo and it feels great to finish it, you know, usually that'll make the cut.
Okay. How about when you're kind of into something, you think it's great, and then, you know, you hear it a week later and you're like, what was I thinking?
Well, that was the other advice I had gotten, is sleep on it, because if it's 3:00 in the morning and you're delirious and you think something sounds fantastic, it's like never get a tattoo at 3 a.m. if you're drunk, and never put something on SoundCloud at 4 a.m. if you're drunk.
That is very true. Yeah. When you listen to advice that you've gotten over the years, what's like the best advice someone ever gave you?
Wow. I've gotten a lot of it, both constructive and deconstructive criticism, but be yourself. I was told, just be Ray Powers. Don't try to follow trends. You'll always be 2 years too late. You know, write songs for you. If you love the song, if you touch one life, you're a success. Don't worry about Billboard. Don't worry about any of that stuff. It's meaningless in the end. You have to please you.
Yeah, that's very well said. Tell us about your information. Where can people buy your music? Where can they find out about you, your website, your socials, whatever you want to share?
Well, right now I'm real excited to put out this album, Decade of Singles. And it's basically, you know, remastered singles. I've had a lot of bonus material. And right now I've got a deluxe package, which I'll offer for as long as I can. 30 minutes of video, new everything, and liner notes. People just don't get liner notes anymore. So I want people to have this. And the best way to do it is just to email me directly, theraypowershour@gmail.com, or they can go to Reverb Nation /Ray Powers.
Okay. Now, Ray, we're going to listen to your song here in a few minutes. Tell us a little bit about the song we're going to hear. What do you want us to know about it? What do you want us to take from it? Just what do you want us to feel?
Well, It's You was technically not my first single. It was the second one, but it was the first one that was released to the commercial masses, I guess, so to speak. And you always hear artists saying, I can't pick a favorite song. They're my babies. This is my favorite. And I do play favorites. It's special in that way because I love the way it sounded when it was released, everything about it. And it was my first song that ever charted. So it really has a special place for me.
Okay. And what's the lead instrument in this song we're going to hear in about 2 minutes here?
There's a very prominent lead guitar part in there, which was played by John Esposito of Staten Island. Fantastic guitar player. And other than that, you know, it's very, you know, pop oriented, very radio ready. That was all intentional. But again, you know, it was something that I was happy with. So.
Okay. Wonderful. All right. I'll tell you what, Ray, let's take a listen to your song, and then we'll come back. We'll talk about it. Okay.
Awesome. Thanks.
All right, Ray. So here we go. Check out Ray's song, It's You.
Wasn't born with the keys to a kingdom. That's okay, I'm not looking to reign. Never wanted a parade, always thought I had it made. Getting by to make the grade. Nothing else in the world like contentment. What a life when you get what you need. Then it hit me from behind, plain as day and twice as bright. Now I know what
Wow, that was really cool, Ray. I see what you mean about the lead instrument. When did you put out that song?
That was originally released in early 2013, almost to the day, I think around this time. And of course now, it's remastered as part of the album. But the funny thing about that lead guitar part is we came up with that on the spot. And I talk about that in the video part of the album. But, we were stuck for a part, and it just hit me like a thunderbolt. When he looked up at me, he's like, do you have a main part? I'm like, yeah, how about this?
Yeah. It's funny how sometimes things happen like that, where you work hard, you're going back and forth, and then I find this in myself that sometimes the first take of vocals or of an instrument is the best one, and you keep trying to make it better and better and better, and then sometimes you just go back to that. So sometimes when lightning strikes, it just strikes.
Yeah, do you wind up getting demo-itis too? Like you're always trying to replicate, that magic of that first demo because it sounds so raw and so ready, and so
I'll never forget my very first song I put out almost 7 years ago now. The song, but the video I made myself in Final Cut. I kid you not, hundreds of hours I edited the thing. And I have since learned over the years to let go a little bit. Because I put out a new video every month, they were like big productions. And recently, not only do I not spend as much time, but I don't go looking for actors and actresses and make it like a big thing anymore. So I kind of miss that. But on the flip side, I'm not as anal and obsessed about making everything perfect like I used to be. It's a sickness.
Yeah, and now people are doing so many lyric videos, I think, just because maybe of that, they can't get the time in. It's just so much time.
Yeah, I used to, and again, I was nuts, but my lyric videos used to pretty much be music videos. And then my music videos used to be and now the lyric videos are just lyrics, the little lyric effect. But again, like everyone else, right? If you make it, if you're like Taylor or Ed Sheeran, and you can forget about spending $1 million or $2 million on a video, just even if you had like 20, 50 grand, you could do so much with it. But it's part of being an indie artist, I think. You make do with what you can, and I think people appreciate that.
And I think it really makes you better because you have to work within a very, very tight budget. And, you have no choice. It's like, I'm going to make this work. And you do.
Yeah. Well, and even like the editing and mixing of whether it's music, mastering, or whether it's videos, each component costs a lot of money. And in the beginning, when I didn't know as much, you kind of outsource almost everything. And now what I saw, my music took a step back, I think it was last year. But the truth is I was mixing it on my own, and I was doing every instrument on my own. So I took a step back, and now this year the stuff is picked up again. So what you kind of notice is you don't have the budget. You can't pay $500, $1,000, 20 grand to someone just to mix it. You know what I mean? You're trying to hire guys for like $100, $200. Well, you get what you pay for. So eventually you just try to do more yourself and get better at it, or you're not going to get better at it, and your music will suffer as a result.
See, the thing with mixing is I just don't trust my own ears because I'm so close to it, especially if I wrote it.
Yeah.
If I can get somebody to at least co-mix it or, bounce it and be objective, they're listening to 2020 mixes all the time, whereas I'm mired in the 80s. I like what I like, so
yeah,
they're a little bit more, even tempered, I think.
I think you're completely right. I would love to get to a point where I can at least mix it because, they have mixing boards. You can have plugins, you can have things you think are great, and they are, but there's nothing like having a $100,000, $500,000 mixing board in these rooms that it's just not the same as me doing it in my family room. It just isn't.
No, and then it goes to a mastering desk, and then it takes it to the next level. You're like, wow.
Yeah. And I think you're right. I think, when you're sitting there and you have 5 tracks or 30 tracks, you're tweaking things, you're panning, you're doing these things, a fresh set of ears is like gold because you do get tired of it, you get fatigued, it totally helps to have a fresh set of ears. I totally believe that.
Yeah, you drive yourself crazy. Like you listen to the mix 10 times, you'll hear 10 different things. Okay, it's great. No, how did I miss this? And you'll never let it go. Or that's how, at least how I am.
Yeah, no, I'm the same way. What do you think are the typical mistakes people make pursuing a career like this?
Well, I know from teaching some of these guitar students that they all want to be rock stars out of the box. They think, oh, well, we have SoundCloud, we have Facebook, we have Twitter. You know, it'll take me all of a week and then I'll be famous, just like Sheeran, like you said, just like Taylor. And I'm like, no, kid, it doesn't work that way. You better be able to put in the long haul. It's a long, long road with a lot of rejection.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I don't know about you, but I fell into the same trap. You know, I thought, oh, I release a song, it's going to go viral. You pour a little marketing dollar on it, and then you realize it doesn't. I think it takes years to become an overnight sensation. I mean, it just takes hard work, and all I've tried to focus on is just getting better with the music, the lyrics, the songwriting, the vocals, and not wasting money on marketing because likes and they don't translate.
Yeah, right. Likes don't pay the bills. You know, it's nice to get that pat on the back, but you know, if you can get the streams and the revenue that way, I mean, you know, that's going to keep you at least in the game, so to speak.
Yeah. I always read these articles about, I don't know, a couple million streams and it comes out to like $10 or 40. And that's kind of disheartening too, right? Because you have to tour. You have to get out there and do shows, and that's hard on a family. That's hard to do unless you have something consistent that is local, that is kind of like what you're doing. You can't be touring all around the country. Your family's not going to put up with that.
No, and more importantly, I don't want to miss things like graduations and school plays. I have friends that made a lot of money and did very, very well in this industry, but they said, I missed my family growing up. I'm divorced now. My kids, you know, maybe they don't talk to me. Maybe they do. Maybe they've forgiven me, but you don't get that time back.
Yeah, you really don't. I've seen that definitely, and across professions, but definitely music. It's a tough life.
It is.
Yeah.
And there are doctors who do the same thing. And there are, you know, people who have to travel for work. You know, athletes do it. It's a sacrifice. I mean, it's definitely an exchange.
Yeah. In the same vein, let's talk a little bit about scams. I try to ask every artist who's on the show, because we've all fallen for them. Is there a scam you want to warn us about, or something you've fallen for, you know, just so we can kind of protect each other?
You know, lately I haven't seen too many, but there are people like, you know, I don't want to name names, but they say they'll get you radio airplay and they'll get you, you know, onto these cash box trends or whatever, or these musical services that say we'll get you licensing and just pay us X amount of dollars and we'll, you know, all they have to do is, you know, turn out one success story and they can say, look, this person made $100,000. Yeah. And, you know, they can finance that off the backs of another 4,000 or 5,000 people for X amount of dollars. You know, so it's an old pay-to-play scam, just like, you know, they used to do pay the national act off the backs of the opening acts, the locals.
Yeah. You know, the other thing I've noticed, and I don't know what your take is on this, but as I've gotten more into the business, this famous mixer or this famous person that masters or is a publicist or a manager, it seems like they all have one little success story and they basically build their career off that. It just seems to me like everyone's looking for that one thing to put in their bio that kind of makes them.
Yeah, you put that gold nugget right up front, and then, you know, you've got the Fugazi paper in the back of your $100 bill. I know.
Yeah. So I'm an 80s child, and it seems like you might be a little bit of one or close to one. What's your favorite 80s jam?
Oh, wow. If I had to pick one, I'm on the spot. Whitesnake, Is This Love?
Oh.
Best guitar solo ever.
Great song. Great video, too.
Everything. It's got everything. It's got the girl. It's got Coverdale.
Yeah. The
guitar solo has some blues. It's got some shred, rhythm pickup, lead pickup. To me, it's the perfect guitar solo and the perfect groove.
Yeah. No, that's a great song. Tell us, are there any apps on your phone that you can't live without?
My daughter has put all these crazy apps on here. Half of them, I don't know what they do. I'm going to be 50 this year, so, you know, I think I just missed the cut there. My daughter's 10, so she absolutely owns all the stuff. Twitch, and I use Facebook because, you know, I'm the old dad, so to speak, and I do use Twitter, necessity. Other than that, I mean, I do listen to Spotify. I listen to YouTube. and I have the YouTube app on there. So, I mean, I guess, everything for a purpose.
Yeah, okay. Any books that you've read recently that you want to talk about?
Good books. My friend actually wrote a book. I'm going to give him a free plug here. Unhappy in Heaven, Leonard Herman. It's fiction based on a true story. And I try to read something once a week, whether it's something I either agree with or not. Often I like to get the opposing point of view as well, just to kind of keep you, so that you're not in one camp. You can make decisions and judgments. It just keeps your mind fresh to read all the time.
Yeah, that's true. And it's one way to communicate throughout the world and to pick up something that somebody might have spent 30 years perfecting the art of a certain skill set, and you can learn it just by reading about it. It's unbelievable.
I'd like to say I pick up the Bible often. It's probably not often enough. So maybe that might keep me more on the straight and narrow too.
Yeah, no, I hear you. Do me a favor, give us your contact information again, just so people, if they want to reach out to you, if they want to buy your music, or anything, they can find you.
Sure, yeah. If you tuned in late, you missed a great song, but you can get this great album. I'm a little biased, but Decade of Singles is the album. The Ray Powers Hour at gmail.com. If you email me directly, I can hook you up with the deluxe package, or find me on Reverb Nation /Ray Powers.
Okay. Let's talk for a second about a topic that I think a lot of people that are not in the music business don't quite understand or get, and that's work for hires. There's a lot of people out there that portray themselves as superstars, and they don't know how to read music. They don't know how to play an instrument. They don't know really even how to sing. How would you kind of talk about work for hires? Do you think they take advantage of people with a skill set? Do you think they're a mutually beneficial relationship, or do you think people should just be honest about stuff?
Well, it's one of those things. I think it's really a case-by-case basis. There are some people who, will, like these producers, in the box, they do everything for you. And there are some people on the level, and there are some people who definitely take advantage. And, the ones who put the stars in your eyes and say, look at this fantastic mix I can give you, and I can get this to radio and blah, blah, blah. You'll be a star. Obviously those people, they're all over the place. The sharks used to be New York and LA. It's rampant in Austin and Nashville. But, there are people out there who I'm always on the up and up. I'll always try to give somebody a realistic, timetable and tell them, look, you're not going to be a star tomorrow, but I'll get you a really good record.
Yeah. With this producing stuff that you do it through your record label, or do you actually look for, if any of our listeners want to reach out to you, do you do record deals? Do you help them with their album, or do they have to do it through your label?
Well, the label's always looking for new, young talent, or, at least fresh talent.
Sure.
But I try to work mainly through the label because it is a filter, and let's face it, we want the best. We want people who are ready. Some people, maybe they're really, really good songwriters, but they're not ready for the studio yet, and they want to spend a few more years just honing that skill. So that's a criteria that we try to meet, during the interview process. It's like anything else. You might meet someone on the street who's busking, and you go, wow, you're really good. You've got potential. I can definitely see something raw in you. It's case by case. And it's happened where I've had like background singers on tour with me. I took them back, got them signed for 3 singles or whatnot. There's no perfect science to it, but absolutely.
Okay. Do you have any hidden talents or surprising hobbies that you would actually share with us?
Hidden talents. I don't know. I'm a pretty good softball player. I've been playing for a very long time. That's not really a hidden talent. I do brag about that. I'm still a starting third baseman, still hit cleanup at almost 50. Other than that, my penmanship is really good. That's kind of a lost art these days.
Yeah. Okay. What do you think about the current situation with songwriter royalties? I know there's been some improvements in the last year or two, but you think it get better? You think it's a lost cause, or what are your thoughts?
I mean, it's not going to go back to what it was, that's for sure. We're not going back to 1985 where people were buying albums just out of impulse and, look, I'll buy one for a friend too. But then again too, we didn't get a whole lot on the back end of the mechanical royalties from the album sales either. A lot of that was still tour dollars, but there was just so much more of it. And it was, FM radio obviously pays a lot more than the streaming. I mean, it's just a matter of people expect music for free all too often, and it's not fair. But it's like, wow, okay, we have to do something about it. Do we want to stay in this business? If so, we have to figure out how to adjust.
Yeah, it's true. Any funny things that have happened to you recently that you want to share with us?
Recently? Well, being stuck at home, I'm trying to get one patch of grass to grow in the back. And no matter what I do, it's like this dead spot. I rototilled it, and I'm usually really good at this, but so far we've had plenty of rain, and I just can't get it to grow. And my neighbor's been making fun of me. This is a true story.
Maybe your kids are messing with you. Maybe they keep throwing like Weed Be Gone on there or something and just destroying the grass you're trying to grow.
Oh, the birds are eating the seeds, or the rabbits are coming around. Something's going on.
Yeah. All right, I'm going to ask you a question that hopefully doesn't piss off any of your fan base, but if you could get rid of one state in America, which one would you get rid of and why?
Oh, boy. Well, right now my home state of New Jersey is kind of pissing me off, and I don't want to get political, but, I don't know. One state. Where do I have the least amount of people? I don't know. California's been pissing me off lately. New York's been pissing me off. I mean, it's just happenstance and, circumstance, but that's a rough one. I'm definitely going to have some hate mail after this.
You'll just bleep out when you download the podcast, just bleep out the end of the question.
Keep changing the state, yeah.
That's right,
like
yeah.
You do on tour.
Wherever you're touring next, just make that not the state.
You always roast the next city, right?
Yeah.
That's how you do it.
So since you're from New York, tell me next time I head out there, what's the place I gotta go eat at? I haven't been to New York probably in a year and a half. So what's new that I should go to? Of course, after the virus, where the quarantine.
Once they open up New York again, yeah. Well, Ray's Pizza. They always talk about the original. Best I ever had was Stromboli downtown, University Place in the Village. Fantastic Heroes, fantastic Sicilian slice. I mean, you can't go wrong. Hopefully everybody's still open when this nightmare is over. But, yeah, you can't go wrong in New York. I mean, no matter what you eat.
Yeah, that's true. You would think you can't go wrong. You probably can, but...
There's a few places,
I'm trying to remember by Times Square. I went to a place there, Carmine's or something, that... I can't remember. It had... The portions of food were just unbelievably large. And, my God, it was great. I think it was Carmine's. Right by Times.
Yeah, Carmine's right in the theater district. That's a tourist trap, and yeah.
It is, but it was incredible. And then I don't know if I was in Vegas. I was somewhere last year, and I saw, and they had the same setup, and I was like, oh my God, there's more than one?
Well, that's what they do in Vegas. They emulate everything.
Yeah, I think it was Vegas. They had little outdoor seating, and the inside was it wasn't as big as the one in New York, but I was just kind of like, wait, there's more than one? I had like no idea.
I guess it's like having the Eiffel Tower there in Vegas. They have to have a little bit of everything.
Yeah, that's true. All right, Ray. It's been an absolute blast having you on the show. I want to thank you for being on the show, and I want to invite you back anytime you want, my friend.
Sarantos, thank you so much. I appreciate it more than you know.
You're very welcome. All right, so I want to thank all the listeners out there, any artists listening. If anybody wants to be on the Songwriter Show, please, please, please feel free to reach out to me. I invite you to just email me. I love you all. Thank you for spending some of your precious time with me. I hope your own unique story gets heard around the world. My name is Sarantos. Please join me every Tuesday night to hear other amazing artists share their fascinating behind-the-scenes stories right here at the Songwriter Show. And tonight I'm going to leave you with one of my instrumentals that I released a few months ago. This was my funeral instrumental CD, and this song is called The Loss. This is a funeral instrumental featuring guitar in F minor in the style of Hans Zimmer and Enya. This song will make you feel the anguish and pain of your loss, but there's also a sense of relief when it's done. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you all have a great night. God bless, stay safe, and I'll see you again next Tuesday night. Have a great night, everyone.
Thank you for listening to The Songwriter Show. To keep the momentum going, head over to www.songwritershow.com and join our free music community of artists, songwriters, and producers. That's www.songwritershow.com.
Thank you for choosing Pesmo Radio.